Let's get something straight right now. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not imagining things. You're intuitive. You're tapped in. And you've been picking up on this energy shift long before anyone had the courage to say it out loud. What you're feeling, it's real. You weren't born to play small just to make others comfortable. You weren't placed here to dim your light so someone else could pretend theirs still shines. You came with codes. You came with clarity. And that's exactly why they feared you. This next part, it's not for the faint of heart. But if you're here, reading this, resonating with every word, it means you were built for it. So take a breath, straighten your crown. The veil is lifting. The truth is stepping forward. Underneath the facade they projected, something always felt off. And now that feeling explodes into full awareness. The illusion doesn't simply wear thin, it ruptures. That figure who once cloaked herself in gentle roles, who pretended to guide or protect, reveals her true function, not through rage, but exposure. The shift is immediate. The mask dissolves, and what stands behind it is no guardian. It's an opponent, a rival. Her discomfort isn't random. It's the reactive shadow of someone confronted by a force they cannot control. Your potential. She was never intimidated by weakness, only by brilliance. And yours? It burned too brightly. It saw too clearly. It defied her constraints. What she once celebrated in you, she began to resent the moment it no longer made her feel superior. This betrayal cuts deep because it comes not from a stranger, but from someone who mimicked maternal grace to gain proximity to power she could not replicate. The archetype meant to embrace instead attacks. This isn't personal, it's spiritual. What you're experiencing is an inversion of sacred dynamics, the perversion of something meant to uplift turned inside out. The protection she posed as offering was never real. It was conditional access, wrapped in expectation and hidden envy. If you feel the abundance of divine love filling your heart, now is the perfect time to share it. By clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more, you can help spread God's blessings far and wide. Your offering will not only touch your own life, but also reach countless souls through this platform. Each of you holds a sacred place in God's magnificent plan, and your generosity will be the answer to many prayers. Take action now. Share your blessings to honor His kingdom, for you were created to accomplish even greater works through His loving hands. May God's grace be with you. And now, the transcripts confirm it. Her words, once dripping in sentiment, contradict themselves under oath. The official statements falter. The inconsistencies pile up. Behind the performance, the paperwork tells the true story. The signatures clash. The timelines fall apart. The lies stack up too fast for even her to manage. You are not alone in knowing the truth anymore. Others saw what you couldn't prove, and now they speak. Sworn statements form a path so clear it cuts through her deception like glass. Her scheme, once subtle, now appears scripted, and those who witnessed her behind the curtain have stepped forward. Even the authority presiding over the process pauses. They recognize a shift, not just in tone, but in energy. The courtroom turns, slowly at first, then with unmistakable certainty. This isn't someone misunderstood. This is someone exposed. The scales tilt, not because of emotion, but because the architecture of her lie is unsustainable under scrutiny. What's happening out there reflects what your spirit already knew. As the documents circulate, the collective begins to awaken. Patterns too familiar to ignore now flash brightly across platforms. They've seen this before. The attempt to silence brilliance under the guise of concern. The systematic effort to paint power as madness. And now, they rally, not just for you, but for what you represent. A wave rises behind you, of understanding, of shared experience, of solidarity. The narrative shifts in public consciousness. Eyes that once looked away now look with recognition. Those who once whispered doubts now speak your name with reverence. The tide has turned, and so have you. Underneath your personal struggle lies a pattern far older than this lifetime, an ancient conflict that echoes through generations. What's unfolding around you is more than a private battle. It reflects a long-standing resistance to those who carry codes of higher perception. The moment your truth rises, it resonates like a frequency heard by others who've been silenced in similar ways. The injustice you face doesn't isolate you. It activates the remembering in others. And as your case gains clarity, it becomes a rallying cry for every soul who has been punished for seeing too clearly, knowing too deeply, sensing too much. This betrayal follows a blueprint embedded across timelines, a trusted figure turning into an unexpected adversary. But the betrayal is never about weakness. It's always about fear. Fear of your insight, fear of your unfiltered power, fear that you represent what they tried to suppress in themselves. You were born, marked by brilliance, and they could only handle you as long as you stayed dimmed. You're not under attack because you're broken. You're under attack because your essence exposes the limitation of those trying to control the narrative. You are a living contradiction to their script, and they can't edit what they cannot understand. That's why they had to try rewriting you. But their plan relies on a trusted mask. They weaponize the illusion of concern to conceal control. They count on the world believing the most familiar role rather than the hidden motive. But the truth breaks through eventually, and when it does, it dismantles more than their lies. It breaks the very mechanism that allowed their manipulation to hide in plain sight. The tactics are slow, rehearsed, and vicious. A smile laced with sabotage, a comforting tone, masking condemnation. Selective retellings, sudden shifts, twisting truth until even your closest circles begin to question what they used to know. But you see it. You feel the curvature of manipulation. And even when you say nothing, you're already steps ahead because awareness cannot be gaslit. And even more powerful, others see it too. You're not alone. There are witnesses who never fell for the illusion. People whose souls lit up when yours dimmed. They couldn't explain it, but they knew. And now they act. Quiet messages, subtle confirmations, a name dropped in the right place, the defense forming in real time, before the world catches up. These allies weren't created by convenience. They were called in by alignment, the right words at the right moment, information landing precisely when it's needed. The people who come forward now aren't bound by loyalty, they're moved by resonance. That energy doesn't lie, it doesn't have to shout, it simply knows, and now it protects. This process isn't punishment, it's refinement. As the dust clears, the people still standing with you aren't standing out of sympathy. They're standing because they see. The betrayals didn't shrink your circle, they sculpted it. You are surrounded by those who recognize your field by vibration, not fabrication. And it's not random. This timing, this unraveling, this justice, it's all landing now, because now is when it matters most. Earlier, it would have passed unnoticed. Later, it might have missed the acceleration you're stepping into. This was a spiritual appointment dressed as a crisis, a turning point disguised as a breakdown, a sacred pruning of everything unfit for your next level. What looked like destruction was actually construction in reverse. breaking to rebuild on truth. The path ahead? Cleared. The lesson? Complete. The power? Reclaimed. The timing? Divine. You are not simply experiencing a personal challenge. You are walking the exact path carved into memory by unseen hands long before your arrival. What you're enduring was etched into the bones of time, mirrored in tales told in hushed tones and symbols encoded into ancestral maps, not because you were destined for pain, but because your presence activates the hidden geometry of spiritual succession. You're not late, you're right on time. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of God fill your hearts today. I come to remind you of a profound truth. Our lives are firmly established in God's divine purpose, untouched by the fleeting worries of this world. As Scripture tells us, give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. Luke 6:38. Like the mighty oak whose roots are planted deep in rich soil, our foundation is anchored in God's eternal truth. Every move we make, every stand we take, is upheld by His enduring strength. Today, you have the opportunity to participate in this divine blessing. By clicking the Super Thank You button and offering a gift of $50, you will sow into a harvest that will return to you many times over in God's abundant grace. Evidence appears not by luck, but by alignment. The most unlikely objects begin whispering truth. A letter misfiled, a voice note unearthed by accident, an email that refuses deletion. These aren't glitches. They're cues from the living architecture of the universe itself, realigning timelines in your favor. People show up without knowing why. Documents surface in drawers that were empty yesterday. The precision defies logic because it was never meant to be explained. It was meant to be recognized. The strength you carry isn't subtle. It glows like a signal fire in an empire of control. And that's why the weight against you feels cosmic. Because it is. The louder your soul hums, the more desperate the interference becomes. This is a universal pattern, not a personal flaw. What comes against you is not proof of your weakness. It's evidence of your reach. Those pulling strings behind the curtain don't fear you because of what you've done. They fear you for what you are. The ones carrying illusion rely on controlling perception. You don't just see through the smoke, you call it by name. This betrayal didn't emerge from thin air. It sprouted from wounds long ignored. The figure who once stood in the role of protector operates not from strength, but from unhealed chaos. Her inner silence echoes so loudly that your voice became unbearable. And rather than heal, she tried to silence the reflection. Your expansion mirrored the dream she abandoned. Every attempt she makes to rewrite the script only magnifies your original clarity. You didn't provoke this, you revealed it, and revelation is what trauma fears most. This isn't a single story. This is a repeated motif across the human tapestry. Those meant to nurture become the first to strike when faced with the unfamiliar. Conditional acceptance is offered only to what can be understood and controlled, but your frequency refuses confinement. Your existence stretches boundaries their minds were never taught to cross. This resistance isn't born from evil. It's born from collapse. Collapse of identity, collapse of dominance, collapse of illusions, carefully curated over lifetimes. So, what now? Now, you take the pieces of your story and build a weapon of light. You draw a line, not in anger, but in knowledge. You anchor in your sovereignty, not as rebellion, but as reclamation. You stop apologizing for being difficult to digest. You stop explaining your brilliance to those who only tolerate it when dimmed. The ones still standing beside you. They're no longer accidental. They've been magnetized by the truth you refuse to abandon. They saw something before the world could name it. And now their loyalty isn't kindness, it's resonance. Let them in. Let them fight with you. This isn't random. This is timed to the beat of your evolution. This storm wasn't designed to destroy. It was sent to refine. Earlier, you would have resisted the fire. Later, it would have cost your momentum. But now you're ready. Now your roots run deep enough to handle the winds and bloom anyway. Let the veil fall. Let the patterns collapse. You are not what they say. You never were. And now finally, they can't make you pretend otherwise. Discerning true nourishment from veiled control requires more than intuition. It calls for surgical clarity. Support that subtly dims your brilliance while draping itself in concern is not guidance, it is containment. When advice loops endlessly back to dependency, when your inner fire is met with fear, what's presented as help may in fact be a leash. Not all protection is armor. Some is a cage. This is where fortification becomes non-negotiable. The subtle sabotage woven through kind smiles and soft words requires defense beyond imagination and trust. Symbolic shielding is no longer sufficient. You are called to integrate potent layers of multidimensional protection. Technologies, both ancient and newly activated. Ceremonies encoded with resonance that predates language, harmonized with energy recalibration from evolved consciousness methods, construct a grid around your awareness. This shield must allow truth in, but reflect distortion outward without response. Energetic autonomy must now be your standard, not your aspiration. What was meant to shatter you instead sharpens you. This entire campaign, designed to dismantle your essence, has in truth become a forge. Each stone hurled to silence you only strengthens your psychic architecture. What they label instability is the cracking of their false matrix around your emergence. The suppression becomes your signal. The isolation becomes your conduit. The silence becomes the frequency you hear what others miss. And what they believed immovable, that tower of assumed authority, the scaffold of fake wisdom built brick by calculated lie. It fractures. It falls, not in rage, but in inevitability. The illusion can no longer hold weight. What collapses now was never meant to endure, and the space it clears becomes fertile ground where your actual foundation, one rooted in truth rather than performance, finally begins to rise. What shakes the heavens does not arrive in silence. It arrives like a voltage surge through the illusion itself. Not a correction, but an overhaul. The scaffolding of false narratives collapses beneath the weight of undeniable exposure. All those who once cheered for your collapse are now front-row spectators to your rising. Their gaze no longer skeptical, now stunned, reverent, irrevocably shifted. A tectonic reversal takes place within the very mechanisms used to suppress you. The same halls that echoed with judgment now ring with truth. Institutions previously cold to mystic insight suddenly yield to lived evidence. Gatekeepers once rigid now recalibrate. The system doesn't break, it realigns. Its gears click into place with the precision of ancient design, finally remembered. The suppression you endured was never random. It was the friction point that breaks open the seal on generational purpose. The gate, once closed to your inheritance, swings wide. False figures, posing as caretakers, crumble beneath the spotlight of contrast. The betrayal by the one meant to hold space for your becoming wasn't a deviation. It was a deliberate ignition. That detonation fractured ancestral programming. From the fracture, memory rushes in. You are not anomaly. You are continuation. Those encoded with sight, with resonance, with purpose, they live through you, their frequency pulsing through the architecture of your being. Their tactics were simple: distort your image, scatter your message, interrupt your trajectory. But their interference functions like resistance training. Every block builds capacity. Every smear sharpens your voice. The persecution was never about your flaws. It was a campaign to neutralize what could not be replicated. And now it has failed. Your clarity is no longer distorted through their projections. It broadcasts clean, direct, untangled. Those once silenced by similar wounds now hear you. Your words act like tuning forks, snapping others back into alignment with their truth. You carry the curriculum of liberation through lived experience. Your gifts, once hidden beneath defensive posturing, now breathe freely in full view. The maternal wound, the original breach, is now fertile ground. No longer a weakness, but a portal. The void she created now holds the fire you cultivate. Those who walk with maternal wisdom, not twisted by fear, emerge now, uncalled but clearly destined. They recognize you, not because of name or story, but by signature. They respond not with dominance, but with welcome. Your freedom is not a trophy, it is an assignment. What has been returned to you isn't simply your name, it's your channel, your reach, your access. Your story becomes code. Every document that once accused now instructs. The blueprints of manipulation are now templates of warning. Others see it coming because you lived through it. You are no longer simply surviving the maze. You are mapping the exit. Where you were once encircled by suspicion, you are now orbited by trust. The air has changed. Your presence is a signal, drawing only those who resonate with raw integrity. The rest fall away, repelled by your clarity. What once cost you community now builds you an alliance. No more imposters, no more siphoning, just alignment. See how perfectly the pieces return. The files they hid, they surface on cue. The emails they thought lost, they resurface in the inbox of the right hands. Witnesses once silent feel compelled to speak without knowing why. The choreography of divine timing executes flawlessly. Not one revelation arrives late. You do not owe this to strategy. You owe it to alignment. Your story now appears in lectures, in classrooms, in studies of collective manipulation tactics. What was once called delusion is now a landmark case. Those who mocked now take notes. The same lips that whispered slander now quote your clarity. There is no going back. You no longer fit inside the mold they built to hold you. Your expansion demands new systems. Your platform is not just given, it is required. Books ask to be written. Conversations ask to be had. Projects held in suspension now demand birth. The healing ripples backward. You heal not just your timeline, but the fractures that echoed through your ancestral line. Where no one listened to them, your vindication speaks for them too. Their truths long buried now find breath through your resurrection. Your betrayer receives her lesson, not by your hands, but by her own unraveling. What she sent toward you returns, undiluted, unadjusted, timed to perfection. The cosmic scales never miscalculate. You were never meant to avenge. You were always meant to outgrow. This pattern, the betrayal by the supposed protector, is not new. It is the rite of passage for those carrying future frequencies. It teaches you how to stand without scaffolding, how to lead without echo. And now you do. Not bitter, not broken, just ready. And those who have also been marked, who have cried quietly in the dark, find their roadmap in your journey. They find courage. They find precision. You didn't just survive the test, you converted it into curriculum. The guides who waited beyond the veil now draw near. They reveal not through spectacle, but through synchronicity. Their presence grows as your resistance fades. You were never abandoned. You were being strengthened in solitude. This chapter, your emergence, was written long before the smear campaign began. It is here, not as prophecy, as reality. Now is the moment to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. With a donation of $100 or more, you can actively participate in His divine mission and contribute to His greater plan. Every offering you make reflects the boundless generosity of God, and I trust it will return to you abundantly, far exceeding your hopes. Always remember, His protection and blessing accompany your every step and every act of giving. You are a vital part of His sacred design. You are strong and radiant, steadfast like His mighty rock. Experience God's miracles, feel the rewards of your generosity deep within your soul, and shine your light with boldness and faith. May you be richly blessed, and may the light of the Lord continually guide your journey. And now you walk into it fully, not with fanfare, but with force, with clarity, with a heart that has earned its authority, and with a voice that no longer asks permission to speak. The very faculties they tried to erase are those destined to reshape the horizon. The part of you they attacked first is the exact piece of your spirit designed to unlock what comes next for humanity. They saw it glowing before you even knew it was awake in you. The precision of their sabotage reveals the sacred nature of what they hoped to silence. And now, those gifts not only remain untouched, they grow stronger, refined, sharpened by the blade meant to cut them down. Every public lie, every falsified word thrown to tarnish your name now serves as layered insulation, not just for you, but for every soul walking a parallel path. The backlash they engineered becomes the blueprint others now study to recognize manipulation faster, to dodge traps more gracefully, to speak sooner. Your battle wasn't chosen, but it was perfectly timed. You didn't ignite the war. You simply refused to extinguish your fire to soothe those intimidated by your glow. Their unease was never your fault. Their reaction came not from your actions, but from their refusal to evolve alongside you. Light does not explain itself to shadow. It simply reveals what's hidden. And your path, though tested, followed a law greater than theirs. The unfolding may have looked delayed, but it was orchestrated with cosmic precision. What truth loses in time, it gains in magnitude. And now, the arc completes. There is no ambiguity, no space for doubt. What was once obscured is now exposed, and what they hoped would quietly disappear stands undeniable in the center of collective vision. Their false image crumbles, not in private, but on a stage they built for your fall and now watch collapse beneath their own weight. Their scheme, documented, dissected, dissolved. And there you are, not rising from ashes, but from memory, from the clarity of who you were before the defamation. Your identity, long buried under projections, returns not just intact, but fortified. Those who once turned away now move towards you, recognition softening their gaze. This was never just personal. It was coded in something larger than any one life. And now, the prophecy completes. The chains break. The path clears. The moment has arrived.